The Rams projected to get an elite cornerback in this year's NFL draft. At least that's what this mock draft has to say. We're going to talk about who the player is, how I feel about the pick, if this were to be the pick, and why are we even talking about the draft? We're going to talk about that a little bit moving forward, as we are also going to talk about Joshua Karty and what Sean McVay had to say about his kicker. Is he already done? Is he already done with the rookie? Is the confidence lost? We're going to talk about that for sure and much more on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Josh Karty. Welcome into another episode. If you guys have never seen us before, go ahead and leave a like on today's video. Let us know you like what you see so we can continue to keep making daily Rams content for you guys here at the Rams Digest. But let's get into this. I got to apologize ahead of time for this one right here. But more Karty, more problems. That's the question we have here. It's an interesting conversation we have to have. Now, I got to pull this up real quick, an article that we kind of saw. You could just see it on Sean McVay's face here. Sean McVay sounds like a coach who's lost trust in his kicker. Yeah, you know, for those who don't know and maybe didn't watch the game, Joshua Karty, of course, you know, he's a rookie kicker, and I think he's had his moments here this season, some ups and some downs for sure out of the rookie kicker from Stanford. But the interesting part of this conversation is specifically what Sean McVay had to say. Now, at halftime, the Rams were about to go up by 7 points with a simple or easy, whatever you want to call it, a routine 26-yard field goal from the left hash mark. And Joshua Karty goes ahead and misses the field goal all the way wide right. Now, again, he started on the left and still managed to miss the kick wide right off the post. So definitely not the best looking kick, not a pretty kick, very, very ugly, some would say. But the reason why this is a story is not just simply because of where the kick went and how it looked or whatever you want to say. It's specifically what Sean McVay had to say about it, the reason why we have to kind of sit and talk about this. So Sean McVay says, and I quote, "There wasn't a lot of reason to feel great about that operation today," speaking on the kicking team. "Knowing they needed a touchdown, there wasn't a whole lot of back and forth. Felt pretty convicted in that decision right there." That's a quote from Sean McVay. Now, I will say there's a ... in there for a reason. That part of the conversation, essentially, I kind of just paraphrase here. He did give a shout out to the defense. He did give a shout out to the punter. Obviously, doesn't want to sit here and say that whole special teams unit as a unit wasn't succeeding, specifically the kicking team, right? And that's why this is a conversation, I think, right here, right? Joshua Karty misses his kick, and then in the fourth quarter, this is the big time point that Sean McVay is talking about here about what decision he's convicted with, or what a decision he made in the fourth quarter. What he's talking about is the Rams within pretty, not going to say automatic, right? No kick is automatic, but pretty close field goal range. I think they're about the 35 maybe yard line, but when Matthew Stafford drops back, throws a ball up to a jump ball up to Puka Nacua, fails on 3rd and 6, and Sean McVay decides to go ahead and not kick a field goal, not give his kicker a chance to put the team up 9, punt the ball away. He says, and I quote, "They needed a touchdown, so there wasn't a lot of back and forth." I think we do have to pause on that part there and kind of talk about this for a second. They're up by 6. They needed a touchdown, so therefore I trust, Sean McVay saying he trusted his defense to go ahead and say, "Don't lose to a touchdown, and we're good. We'll win. Don't worry about the kicking situation." And it's an interesting thought to have, because you kick the field goal, you make it, you're up by 9, under 2.5 minutes to go. It's pretty much sealing the victory. Sean McVay decides not to, and it makes you really, really now think, does he really just not trust his kicker? Did he really just want to pin the Patriots as far back as possible because he just didn't believe that Joshua Karty would even have a chance at making the field goal? And that's where the concern is risen. That's where maybe we're blowing this out of proportion, but hey, that, I think there's a confidence factor when it comes to kickers. It's a mental game, I think, for kickers. Of course, they're all going to have the leg, or a lot of them are going to have pretty big legs, but are they confident in themselves? Are they confident in making these kicks? Are they confident in clutch time when the team needs them the most? Now, this situation wasn't even that clutch of a situation. Of course, the big kick, you seal the game, the win for your team, essentially, with this make. But if you miss it, right? Your defense has to hold them to not scoring a touchdown. Same logic that Sean McVay already used. So that's where I kind of get confused. Sean McVay could have just kicked the field goal, and if he misses it, you still are trusting your defense to not give up a touchdown either way. Of course, better field position and all that. I get that, but interesting for sure. And I think it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to see how Joshua Karty responds to this, and we'll see what kind of player he is. Can he respond? Can you go in and say, no, I'm going to go ahead and make 100% of my field goals the rest of the way? Again, something that's not easy to do for sure, but something that maybe he might have to start being pretty consistent on in order to maybe regain the trust of Sean McVay. I don't want to harp on this too long, so we'll move on from it soon, but I just want to pull up real quick. Here are Joshua Karty's stats on the year. Roughly 80% on the year. You can see the projected numbers and stuff. These are all from ESPN, by the way, which is interesting because the last 5 games, it says he's 36%, which doesn't seem correct if you're looking at the 7 for 10. But the biggest thing is, yes, he's missed 4 field goals on the year, but the last 5 games he's missed 3. And I think that's kind of the issue we're having here. We're seeing pretty simple kicks. He's missed a 30 to 40 yard field goal. He's missed a 20 to 30 yard field goal. So that's 2 field goals that are what should be automatic in today's NFL. He's also missed 2. Right or no? He's missed none from 40. But the point is, he's missed 2 from less than 40 yards, and I think that's kind of the concern from maybe Sean McVay, maybe the concern from some of the special teams unit in general. So something to look at for the rest of the season. The Rams are going to have to use a kicker. They're going to have to continue to use Joshua Karty the rest of the way. Hopefully this didn't hurt his confidence too much, and I think it should be fine. Joshua Karty hopefully could bounce back from this and continue to progress as a rookie in the NFL. But moving on from that, so we're going to talk a little bit about this situation here. We have the 2025 NFL Draft. Los Angeles Rams find elite cover man in recent first-round mock draft from an unusual place. Now, what they mean by unusual place is simply the school that we're talking about here. And the school we're talking about is a young player by the name of, pull his name up real quick for me, Shavon Revel Jr., 2025 NFL Draft prospect, good cornerback, 6'3" unofficially, weighing about 193, 195 pounds, 5th-year senior. And this mock draft recently has the Rams go ahead and getting Shavon Revel. Now, the interesting thing here is he's coming out of a smaller school, East Carolina, defensive back. Does draw some comps from a website called the 33rd Team. Draw some draft comparison, a pro comparison of Richard Sherman. It's always hard when you hear these elite legends of the game being compared to these rookies. A little bit unfair if you ask me. But hey, this recent mock draft we see the Rams going after a defensive back. Now that's not a surprise. Going after a cornerback is not really the biggest surprise. But going after this specific cornerback out of a very small East Carolina school, it's very interesting. I'm not saying that just because a player goes, to a smaller school means that they're not going to be a good player. But it's always risky, right? You're playing against lesser competition. Eastern Carolina is still playing against teams like Michigan and stuff, right? So it's not like they're playing against nobody. But the biggest thing I think here, and I want to point this part out. He does have some positives, some pros. I'm pulling this from the 33rd Team here. Coming off of an ACL tear in September of 2024. That's kind of my biggest concern that I kind of want to highlight here. You never want to hold a player back when they're coming off of an injury like a ACL tear, but you don't want to just assume they're not going to come back healthy. But the reality is, when you're talking about draft picks, I think that matters a lot more than you maybe want it to. So, he looks like a good cornerback. Long, has a size to be kind of a cover man-to-man cornerback in the NFL. A little bit on the thinner side, but definitely a player who could develop into being a top cover corner in the NFL. But we're still a long ways away. And I think that's kind of the biggest reason why I want to talk about this story. We're a long ways away from the NFL draft. So the hope is that the Rams don't have to think about the draft until we win the Super Bowl, and then therefore we're the 32nd pick in the NFL draft, first round. But The reality is, I think you may be picking in the teens, you may be picking in the early 20s, and I think you have to start thinking about who, we have to, as a fan base, start thinking about who we should go ahead and target moving forward. And a cornerback does make a lot of sense, especially a bigger body, long arm cornerback like a 6'3" Siobhan Revel out of Eastern Carolina. So interesting idea. I think something that we're going to look forward to checking out all off season long. We'll have all these drafts videos coming up soon. I definitely want to get into that stuff as we get closer to the NFL draft in the off season. But right now, a 5-5 team. We'll see where the route takes us. A few weeks in. A few weeks left, I think, and then we're going to see, hey, are we talking about the draft very, very early while teams are playing in the playoffs? Are the Los Angeles Rams going to be preparing for the playoffs? You guys do me a favor. Let me know what you guys think. Are we going to be preparing for the playoffs or draft sooner rather than later? What are you feeling? What are you leaning towards? Hit us up in the comments if you guys can. But that's going to do it for today's episode of the Rams Digest. A little bit of a quick video going over some kicking issues and the draft, of course. Hopefully next week we can talk about another Rams victory and potential playoff matchups, right, moving forward. But that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, leave a like on today's video if you like what you see so we can keep posting more Rams content in the future. Thank you guys, and I'm out.